I think, first of all, that this should be a maximum of like 35 minutes.
I was thinking like 20 minutes.
That's great. That's even better.
Yeah, I don't want a long podcast here. But I do think that the things that you... Well...
Okay, we should do what you want to do, including...
This is First Person Present, a podcast from Hewes House about writing, reading, living, and everything in between. Join us for real talk about our lives on the page, the craft of telling compelling stories, and the realities of the writing lifestyle.
I am revising my novel. I'm revising the second part of my novel right now. And according to the documents I have, this is my 7th revision. We're going to pause for a second.
No, just keep talking.
Because Walter might bark.
If you guys hear our dog growling, this is great. Do you know what? I gave him a liver treat earlier when that door opened, and I think that he's starting to feel the good vibes from the doorbell.
Oh my God. Okay, so liver treats in this household are Walter's little golden nuggets. They're little chicken nuggets, and he's a 7-year-old American boy circa 2001.
24-year-old American boy, actually, by the vet chart, but
according to the vet chart. Okay, so the good news is that I did make progress. The bad news is that I was momentarily, at least, sad to see that I was on the 7th draft.
That makes you sad?
I think because I feel impatient and I wish that I had gotten it right or gotten it to where it needed to be by, I don't know, the 3rd draft or the 4th draft. I've been thinking a lot about revision strategies because I think that the thing that I have come to understand is that is very difficult for me, a person who really likes language and fussing with language and tone and syntax. It's been very difficult for me over the years to make big structural changes and to understand sort of these ideas about novels like conflict and plot level problems and character development.
All the stuff that they teach you in the MFA or like in the writing books or whatever,
craft level things that feel like. And the thing that I've come to understand is that it's not difficult for me to think about those things and notice them and advise on them for other people. I am a very good reader for many people.
I have that experience as well.
I'm a very good editor, I think, actually, for many people in my life, professionally and personally.
Personal editor.
I should just say for money and not for money.
Yeah, because that's what it is.
But it is hard for me to do that for my own work. I think it's because oftentimes I'm less interested in those things for my own work. And I think it may be a combination of that and just being resistant to questioning my own initial instincts, which I think in some ways is the core work of revision, right? It is a revisioning of something.
Wow.
So
I've never thought of it that. Revisioning.
Yes.
Yeah, like you see it again versus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another Helen Zell plug, my old writing professor, who's very good, his name is Peter Ho Davies, wrote a book on revision for Grey Wolf, The Art of Revision. He taught a class on revision as he was publishing that book in our program at the time. And he formed the entire class around that very concept, that to revise is to re-envision your project. And he stresses that there's not really a qualitative component to this, meaning there are many different ways to revision something that are not necessarily about objectively improving it. But I think that it's actually quite difficult once you've been set in your ways with a project, as I have very much been with this one, to do that. So
Yeah, I mean, you've been working on this book since 2021,
I think so, yeah.
and it's 2025 now, so it's been 4 years, or you say 5,
No,
right?
I've been working on it since 2020, actually.
Yeah, because that was your first year in the program.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would take some breaks, very infrequent ones, to be honest, off because I would write some short stories. I took a little bit of time off in the querying process when I was first getting my agent.
Between drafts.
I
you
took a
take
little bit of time off between drafts.
And you're just miserable.
When I was waiting for notes from my agent, I started another project, another novel, which I am actually very excited to go back to.
One day.
For no apparent reason, I'm excited because I don't think I have very much. But it's different. But anyway, so the real TLDR here is just that
The realty deal?
TLDR.
Oh, TL. Wait, are we going straight to Reddit talk on this one?
I don't think the TLDR is straight to Reddit. Is it? Is that only Reddit?
That's where I got it.
Okay. I don't know. Really all I wanted to share is that process-wise, I'm just copying a scene. I have the physical manuscript marked up from notes that I did when I reread part 2 on Friday, start to finish. And I'm working on each scene isolated in a separate document, scene by scene. And so what I do is I just change the font of it, which kind of helps me, for some reason, see it differently. But then I read through it, and then I sort of think for a few minutes about what this scene is about. And then I try to make changes to just that one isolated scene. And today, reader, listener, I got through 2 scenes.
Nice. And you were gone for like a solid 6 hours.
I worked on it from 11 something to 4:30.
Yeah, that tracks.
And there was
the scenes.
They were long. I mean, I made each of them. So interestingly, each of them did get a little bit longer. Though I did cut things. I think it's how much more I added that did ultimately make them a little bit longer.
Oh, so these are scenes from the very end of the part too. So like near the very end of the entire book.
Yes, they are quite literally the last 2 scenes. I'm just going backwards. So
how did you find them? Like when you were going through them today, did you find them, the revision process of them, were they like kind of schlubby when you came in, or what did you feel?
No, I don't think that I'm at the stage, and I should not sort of speak too highly of myself here, but I don't think I'm at the stage with this book where the problem is schlubbiness. It's not too baggy. It's a matter of really making sure that I am, I think, exposing something about these people and kind of putting a little bit of emotional risk into the scenes.
Anti-privacy.
Yes. And and then there's this second note that I'm trying to address, which is this note of place and sort of just making it a little bit more vivid, because at some point in my revision process, in the cutting of things, I did also cut quite a bit, I think, of description, perhaps to my detriment in the process of cutting. So when I was feeling like anything was too extraneous, I would just cut it. And another thing from my life, because I do think there's a very direct parallel between how you write and how you live, is I really, really don't like clutter, and I don't like things. So I am constantly getting rid of things, constantly throwing things out. And I think this is what I do with my writing as well. I'm getting rid of things all the time.
Yeah, because you don't know exactly how they fit at the time. So you're just like, well, get rid of it. I don't read this.
And if I can't in the moment know with certainty that I love it, I will get rid of it.
I just want everyone to know that that was a moment where I wanted to say fuck it and I didn't. But I think that it's important that that is the vibe.
We're not cursing on this podcast.
Well,
This is a no curse zone.
That's actually up for debate. I think that we should just be ourselves, which is the way that I feel about writing too, by the way. I think that we should just be ourselves.
Okay. How was your writing day?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm working on a new novel. It's not, I don't know. What does new mean? I've been working on it I've been working on it for 15 years. So what does new mean? It doesn't mean anything. But I do have a rough first draft of it right now. Very rough first draft of the first half of it, actually, because I decided to split it into volumes because this is a behemoth project and it's going to take a really long time and it's going to be really long. And the first half of it is like 450 pages or something like that. So I'm just thinking of it as a series kind of now. But anyway, I've read through everything. I'm going through the first chapter again and I'm adding some notes. And where I'm at right now with it is I'm doing a lot of research. I'm doing a lot of like synthesizing voices from a different era from ours. I mean, it's really hard to describe this actually without going a little bit deeper into the project. It feels really slow to me, and that's frustrating is how I feel about this actually, because I'm writing maybe, I don't know, 250 words a day, and I'm used to writing like 500, and this is really confining. I'm working with a lot of constraints right now, so I feel confined when I'm writing, and I kind of just want to like go nuts and just break free, basically. But that is not my experience of revision, actually. That's like my experience of a first draft where it's really freeing and you're just kind of rapping and you're just like saying whatever the hell you want to say and I'll deal with the consequences later kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And now that I'm going through my rough draft and building it into something really more than it was before, I'm dealing with a lot of plotting work. So I feel frustrated. That's how I feel. And then I read over what I wrote and I'm like, wow, this is really nice and I really like this. But
oh, great. That's great.
Yeah, but listen, I wrote it like 5 days ago and I'll read it in a month and I'll be like, "Oh my God, what the hell is this?"
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some of the revising that I'm doing is making me second guess how I draft, actually. So it's funny that you brought up this idea that, you're supposed to sort of throw the first draft out and just kind of, or just, have this sort of no second guessing, no hesitations, no delays approach to
That's not what I mean, though.
drafting.
I don't feel that way. I feel that there are processes of expansion and contraction when you're writing a book. And like the first draft is just the most obvious expansionary period, right? Because you have nothing and then you have a lot at the end of that. And sometimes it's actually not enough. So sometimes your next draft, when you're revising it, is making it be bigger and have there be more on the page. And that's an expansion. But after that, you're always going to have to turn back around and pull it in, contract it so that it's tighter, the language is better, whatever you do. Like this extraneous character doesn't need to exist because they're exactly the same as this character, and they can actually just be one character. So I find that when I'm going through my drafts, and so I'll be working on number 2, I generally will have like first a contraction where it's like, okay, there's like a lot of really nasty language here that I just can't look at myself in the mirror in the morning if I don't fix this language because it's just so ugly and trashy and like, oh my God, what was I thinking? So I'll do that kind of as I see an opportunity here to blow this scene out into like 4 times the size and like include all of these different sources in there and have it be have a a more satisfying like adventure arc almost. Whereas before it was just like, oh, this character is going from point A to point B. But then what if, I think about The Sixth Sense when it's like,
The first movie I watched in the United States of America, the first movie I watched in a movie theater in my entire life, because that was the first time I've ever been in a movie theater, was when we moved from Ukraine to Brooklyn, was The Sixth Sense.
oh yeah. I mean, that movie scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. I was so scared. My dad showed it to me and he knew I'd be scared. He didn't care. He just he wanted me to see this classic cinema, which frankly it is. And there's that part when Bruce Willis is trying to tell the story to the dead boy that we don't know is dead yet, but he's laying in bed. He's like, tell me a bedtime story, Bruce Willis. And he's like, well, I was going on a trip or something, and then I got there and it was great. And the kid's like, what do you mean? Like, that's not how you tell a story. Like, something has to get in the way. Like, what if they run out of gas? And then
Wow.
Bruce Willis is like, okay, they run out of gas, and they like build this story together. And I think about it all the time where I'm like, why am I just giving this character what this character wants right now?
Yeah.
Why are they going and getting their thing where I, as the writer, could be creating obstacles for them that they then have to overcome? And that's like a really satisfying feeling to watch them go through that,
Yeah. Yeah, it's very funny. So that's another thing I don't think about until very late into the process. I don't think I concretely think about desires and obstacles and conflicts unless they kind of come to me in the initial drafting process. I typically do have to put those things in when it occurs to me that
Conflict.
yeah, and
Yeah.
or just barriers and obstacles, And I think that the trick is to try to do it in a way that feels genuinely natural to the type of story that you're trying to tell. So sometimes that thing doesn't have to be happening on a plot level. Sometimes the obstacle is emotional or it's mental or it's entirely internal for the character. Right? It's not running out of gas. It's realizing that
Oh, I don't really love them.
yeah. Or I don't want to be here, but I have to be here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought I was having fun, but I'm not having fun. I think I've had that particular obstacle many times in my life. This was supposed to be fun. Why am I not having fun?
Traffic swerves like bees against the banks. Glass half nervous. Glass half nervous.
So I want to get away from our own work a little bit here because we've talked a lot about that. And I just want to look at a pain point that we've found online and we've dealt with a lot of our clients in the past. And this is from oldreddit.com. So the old TLDR from earlier was a foreshadowing for what's about to come, which is that I'm going to read a comment and we're going to talk about the comment, just whatever occurs to us, whatever it makes us think about with regards to writing. And if this were somebody that we were working with, what we would recommend they do, basically. We're actually going to talk about Kathy, and Rain, who has this to say. I struggle a lot with the idea of show, don't tell. I get myself into a state of panic where I feel my work isn't good enough the more exposition I have. To combat this feeling, I try to say to myself that it's more important to just write and get it on paper first, especially if it's the first draft. And then later I can worry about whether it works or not. So this is pretty common, this question about show, don't tell. It's like the mantra of all creative writing schools since probably like the 80s or something. And we say it a lot. We hear it a lot. We interact with this advice a lot. And I'm just curious on your show, don't tell hot takes.
I don't think I have any hot takes on this subject. So you will find that this rule, if we want to call it that, is broken very frequently. A lot of contemporary literature, non-American literature, is actually pretty telly. There's a lot of exposition in works that are translated. Like I said, just non-US market stuff is pretty uninterested in this, I suppose, because they haven't had US schooling to tell them that this is a faux pas. I will say that the reason that it is so commonly suggested, I think, is because it's actually very difficult to write description. And so I think it's less about show, don't tell, and more about why do you never show?
Yeah. Like, why does this read like an outline?
Yeah, or just, people come to literature to experience different worlds, I think, and you do, in some cases, there's a good argument to be made for why you want to see those worlds and not just have someone tell you what they are. And description is, like I said, I think a very difficult thing to get good at. But when I'm talking about description, I don't just mean place. I'm also talking about being able to describe characters' emotional states. I'm talking about being able to describe the tension between two people in a room without having to say, it was tense between Martha and Bill, right?
Which is so boring most of the time.
Sometimes, right? So that's
Yeah.
the thing to remember, is that sometimes the overcompensation that happens, and why I think so many people take show don't tell to heart and then end up not telling anything, and then what you have is a lot of really saccharine prose that is extremely descriptive, but actually we never really understand what's going on, and then we all want to edit that out to just say that someone walked across the room rather than talking about all the different mahogany finishes that they passed on their way from point A to point B.
Oh my God. Yeah. So many times I've had clients who are like, every single time my character has to travel somewhere, I get so stopped up because I have to describe everything that happens along the journey. And it's like, you can just say that they go to the store. Like, they can just go to the store and then they can just be in the store. And if that freaks you out, just write in parentheses, transition needed, and then later just delete the words transition needed, because you don't even need it. They can just be in the store. Like, that's fine. You don't have to go through all of the details of getting them there.
I think that what we will find as we explore these questions is that, unfortunately, it is very difficult to tell someone in this position that they should either A, not be afraid of show don't tell and they should show all the time, or B, that it is a stupid rule and that no one should have to show if they don't want to. Because I think in some cases it is the more effective craft approach. So to this I say, in most cases it is really helpful to experiment. In most cases, you should still think about the fact that people like description. People like to see and feel and understand what you're trying to tell them instead of just being told that thing. So that maybe should be the guide for.
Well, I think that telling is there's also an interesting opportunity there, because even the way that the advice is set up as show, don't tell, it makes it so that there's a binary between showing and telling, so that sometimes when you just tell, you can actually achieve obscurity of whatever the thing that you're telling is. So the interesting thing there is okay, what if you're telling a story about, I don't know, some people that get into an argument, and instead of showing the argument, you actually just say the words, they got into an argument. Where do you go from there? I think that sometimes the really interesting thing in a story comes from the consequences for the thing that you thought the story was actually about. So oh, I'm writing a story about this argument. you can sit for a long time and write all this dialogue about this argument, and you can end up with, like a very emotive piece about an argument. But I think that sometimes just to be able to say they got into an argument can really unlock the new heart of the piece, which is like, okay, then what? What happens after they get into an argument? Like how does this change things for them?
Oh, I see.
And
I
then
understand now.
you end up showing something else after the thing that you thought that you had to show,
Got it. So in your example, you wouldn't actually describe the argument, but rather talk about the aftermath of the argument.
Yeah.
Whatever yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, I think that in some cases that gets into like the Hemingway iceberg argument or whatever, right? Where like the thing that the story is really about is actually beneath the surface, and you can just like skate past it and then deal with all of the interesting subtext all around everything, and just allow that heart to like energize the story.
Yeah. It's not an argument. It's just a really, really good, it's the right way.
Sometimes.
I love the iceberg. I do. I taught it to my students for years. I think about it very often. I really like it. Okay, so it sounds like we've really solved. We've
solved show don't tell.
Settled this debate.
You're welcome, world. We finally got to the bottom of show don't tell. Okay, so here's confused calzone.
Let's see if we can help you, calzone.
I often start writing a section that I feel is decent, but then I'll read it over and feel like it isn't enough for the standards I want to hold it to, and fixate on every word repeatedly without making real progress. This happens a lot in smaller doses, but sometimes as full-on writer's barricades. And to get past it, usually I have to remind myself that this is the story that I want to tell. Once I accept that, I get excited to where the story is headed again and go to town. Sounds like this calzone has kind of solved its own problem.
It's not a confused calzone at all.
No, this calzone's got it figured out. But I think that we can start on that first bit because it actually came up when we were talking about our own work earlier about writing something and feeling really excited about it, and then going back later and being like, wow, this is ass.
Yeah, so the good news is that if that happens to you 15 times, this is like when the current mayor of New York, Eric Adams, talked about the fact that cheese is like heroin.
Wow. Great name drop. Great quote.
I will say that there is a dulling drug-like component to that feeling, which is it happens to you a couple of times when you feel really good and you're feeling on a roll. But if you've had the come downs frequently enough, you learn to mistrust that feeling. And I find it actually kind of helpful because I know now that I will work through the come down. So I guess in the parallel to Eric Adams, I would continue to eat cheese even though I feel the heroin badness from coming down from cheese.
At Hewes House, you will always have your writing feeling cycles compared to the cycles of addiction. Every single time.
Eric Adams's cheese addiction, apparently.
Oh, we're not talking cheese addiction.
Or food addiction. But anyway, I do really feel like it happened to me today where, like I said in the beginning of this episode, this non-episode, that I felt good because I had designed or developed the system and it felt sustainable. And I also had the side thought, which was there are going to be so many days when this is going to be so hard. And I know that now because I've had so many days where that feeling of momentum and sprightliness and newness and vibrancy wears off, and I have to just make a choice, a deliberate choice to continue to work on it in whatever way I can that's sustainable.
Yeah, I've definitely come to embrace an almost like Zen like disregard for my my emotions regarding a project at any given time, so that when I feel really excited about something that I'm writing, I'm like, oh, it's really not that good. Don't get too excited about it. And when I'm feeling really down in the dumps about something, like, oh, I can't do anything, this is just trash, I'm like, well, it's probably a lot better than you think. So
That's good.
the moderate approach, just the emotionless detachment from what you're working on at any given time, despite it being like the most important thing in your life, if you're like me, and if I know it's the same for you, the detachment is helpful.
But in case you don't feel that sort of detachment and you don't achieve it, I have not. I think every time I always think, I'm so happy and this is going to be so great. And every time I feel really bad, I feel really, really bad. So I think I ride those two waves pretty intensely. And I think that the important thing is just the time and time again reminder that it doesn't affect the fact that you will continue to do the work. I think that's the more important thing, whether you have a sort of grounded or less grounded reaction to your good and bad days.
Mindless piglet.
Good.
I struggle with time. There's never enough. A night flies by like nothing. I could and have spent whole days in my office to write. It makes me a little unsocial, and my family, who's very understanding, is sometimes slightly annoyed, but it's my passion, and they know it. I'd love to be able to stop time and write till I drop. Laughing face emoji. When I began to rediscover writing, for me, things got so much out of hand that I hardly slept and didn't eat. I wasn't hungry at all for almost 3 days. Now I still tend to forget to eat. Sometimes it can feel like an addiction. What's your hot take?
Mindless piglet. Here at the Eric Adams Cheese Heroin Factory, we accept you as you are. This doesn't seem like, I mean, this seems
a problem?
unhealthy.
Is this a problem?
Yeah.
This is good.
This seems unhealthy. Mindless piglet is probably sitting on a Pulitzer, and we'll be hearing from them.
A Pulitzer?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or I don't know.
I don't think most people are actually going for a Pulitzer. I think most people are going for a bestseller, maybe a good advance.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it depends.
I think most people aren't going for anything. Hopefully.
I think most people are going for something, but perhaps shouldn't be going for something.
Okay.
That's not me dunking on anyone. That's just like, if you have success in mind when you're writing, you will not have a good time.
This doesn't seem like a problem. I think that the only circumstances in which I would see this being a problem would be that it's hard to revise something that you haven't been able to sort of unstick yourself from.
Oh, that's an interesting.
So I think if you're really sort of obsessing for long stretches of time, you don't get that really good. One of my clients, Laura, says having cold eyes. I think it's from journalism. If you can't ever get cold eyes on something, meaning, you can't sort of defamiliarize it for yourself or make it distant enough for you to experience it again for the first time, it's difficult, I think, to revise. But I don't know. I think writing is a life and it's a process and it's an enjoyable one for some. And if that is your primary focus, then it kind of doesn't matter how you go about it. I suppose it'd be good if you ate and bathed occasionally, but otherwise,
if you have responsibilities like a dog or a child or a cat or a mother or whoever, that you see them and that you spend time with them and that you do have a life outside of the writing itself. But I mean, you hear so often about the greatest writers just like daydreaming through their lives until they got to the table, The table being the writing table where they're writing their work and they're always thinking about it. I mean, I think that I live this reality in some ways. I'm not daydreaming through my life, God knows, but I am constantly reminded in my daily doings about something that I'm working on, or I'll have an idea when I'm at the supermarket or when I'm on the train. I'll be reading something that like triggers something for me, and then I like to write it down. Notes app has enabled so much for us, you guys. This is not the days of having to carry around a little spiral notebook. That's embarrassing. You can now just have your phone like a Reggie person.
I carry around a notebook that was meant at me.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. I carry a notebook around.
Oh, you have your notebook. Yeah.
It's
but
just not.
It's on your bedside table.
No, it's in my bag with me always.
Yeah, that's true. And you have your diary too.
That's the notebook I'm talking about.
That's the notebook.
It's not.
That's not exactly what.
It's a journal. That's the more masculine term, please.
Dasha has gender dysphoria.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I do think that there's an interesting thing here with time. There's never enough of it, but I'm sure that we're going to encounter other people who, struggle finding time to write because they're tied up changing diapers, or because, their dog needs its fourth walk for the day, which is us babying our little baby dog. But, I think that if your problem is that you are spending a lot of time on your work and you feel like it's almost too much, then just don't feel you have permission.
You have our permission
to love
mindless piglet.
Yeah, like a little truffle pig for your own writing.
Truffle away.
Truffle away. Truffle away. Thanks for listening. If you like what you've heard, check out heweshouse.com, where you can find our writing community, our coaching and editing services, and more resources for writers. Book a free consultation call on our site to talk to us about your writing. We can't wait to hear from you.